If someone calls my name, don't tell them you saw me. The words come out low, rushed, almost swallowed by the echo of the stairwell, and Ethan doesn't even have time to respond before the paper grocery bag in her arms gives out, splitting down the middle as cans and oranges spill across the cracked concrete steps, rolling, bouncing, disappearing into shadows, and she freezes, not annoyed, not embarrassed, but scared in a way that doesn't belong to something as small as groceries, her breath catching, fingers trembling as if every second matters, more than it should, and Ethan moves without thinking, crouching fast, catching a jar inches before it shatters, gathering what he can while she stands there like she's listening for something else entirely, something behind him, something coming closer, and when he looks up, really looks at her, he notices details that don't match, the clean lines of her posture, the way she holds herself like she's used to control, not chaos, the faint imprint of a watch on her wrist, even though she's not wearing one now, and the bruise she tries to hide when she pulls her sleeve down just a little too quickly, and none of it fits this building, this narrow stairwell that smells like dust and old paint, this place where the lights flicker and the rent is barely manageable even for people who have nowhere else to go. And yet here she is, standing in heels that don't belong here, holding on to nothing like it's everything, and Ethan straightens, handing her the last of the groceries, his voice steady even if his thoughts aren't. You okay? And she nods too fast, eyes darting past him, down the stairs, toward the front door like she expects it to open any second, like she's counting down to something only she understands. And then she forces a small smile that doesn't reach her eyes. Yeah, these stairs, they're steeper than I thought. And it's a weak excuse, they both know it. But he doesn't push, just shifts the bags into his arms, heavier than they should be for someone who looks like she hasn't slept, and starts up the steps. Which floor? And there's a pause, just long enough to feel wrong, before she answers quietly, fourth, and he nods, climbing, each step echoing in the narrow space, her footsteps quick behind him. Almost too close, like she doesn't want distance between them, like he's somehow a shield she didn't expect, but is choosing anyway, and halfway up, a sound cuts through the silence. The front door downstairs creaking open, voices murmuring, not loud, but sharp enough to make her stop dead in her tracks, and Ethan feels it before he understands it. The shift in her presence, the way the air tightens, the way her hand brushes his arm for just a second, not intentional, but desperate, and when one of the voices drifts upward, clearer now, a name slipping into the stairwell like it belongs there even when it doesn't, everything changes, because the name they're calling isn't the one she gave him, and suddenly helping her carry groceries doesn't feel simple anymore. The name hangs in the air longer than it should, echoing up the stairwell in a way that makes Ethan stop mid-step, his grip tightening slightly on the paper bags as he glances over his shoulder. But she is no longer just nervous now. She is rigid, every muscle locked, eyes wide in a way that says she recognizes that voice and wishes she did not. And for a second neither of them moves. The building's suddenly too quiet except for the faint hum of the flickering light above them and the muffled footsteps below growing closer, measured, deliberate, not the careless pace of someone who belongs here, but the kind of movement that searches, and Ethan lowers his voice without thinking. They looking for you? And she does not answer right away, her gaze fixed downward like she is calculating something. Like every option comes with a cost she cannot afford. And then finally she exhales, slow, controlled, but it does not hide the truth. I need to get upstairs, she says, not explaining, not denying, just stating it like it is the only thing that matters. And that is the moment Ethan realizes this is not just about groceries anymore. Because people who are afraid of strangers do not sound like that. They sound uncertain, defensive, but she sounds certain of one thing only, that staying here is not safe. And something in him shifts, something quiet but firm. The same instinct that made him reach for the falling jar, now pushing him forward again. So he nods once and turns back up the stairs, moving faster this time, taking them two at a time, the bags pressing into his hands, the weight suddenly irrelevant compared to the urgency building in his chest, and behind him her footsteps follow immediately, close, almost synchronized, like she is matching his pace on purpose, and the voices below grow clearer for a second, one of them repeating that name again, sharper now, impatient, and Ethan catches it this time, really hears it. Not the name she gave him, not even close, and his mind runs through possibilities he does not fully understand, because nothing about this makes sense, not the building, not her, not the way she moves like she has somewhere else she should be, somewhere better, somewhere safer, and yet she is here, choosing this place, hiding in plain sight. And when they reach the fourth-floor landing, she does not slow down, does not hesitate, just moves straight to the last door at the end of the hall. Keys already in her hand, like she has rehearsed this moment before, like she has imagined being chased even if no one ever was. And when the door clicks open, she steps inside quickly, then turns back to him for the first time since the voices started, her expression softer now, but still tight around the edges. "You do not have to stay," she says quietly, like she is giving him an out, like she expects him to take it, and Ethan stands there for a second, the dim hallway stretching behind him. The faint sound of footsteps still somewhere below, and he knows this is the part where he leaves, where he drops the bags, says good luck, and walks away from something that is clearly not his problem. But instead he steps forward, setting the groceries down just inside her door, and says, "I was already going up to the fourth floor anyway." Even though they both know that is not true, and for the first time since he met her, something in her expression shifts, not relief exactly, but recognition, like she understands what he is choosing without him having to say it. And just as the door begins to close behind them, a shadow passes under the crack at the bottom, and a voice from the hallway, calm but unmistakably searching, says her name again, the real one this time. And now Ethan knows for sure. Whoever she is not supposed to be found. The door closes with a soft click, but it does nothing to quiet the tension pressing in from the hallway, because now the sound is clearer, footsteps stopping just outside, a pause that feels intentional, like whoever is out there knows exactly which door to stand in front of, and Ethan does not move right away, his eyes shifting from the door to her, taking in the way she stands frozen just a few feet away, back straight, shoulders tight, like she is bracing for something she has already lived through before. And for a moment neither of them speaks, the silence thick enough to feel, until a faint knock breaks it, not loud, not aggressive, but precise, controlled, the kind of knock that expects an answer, and her breath catches almost silently, fingers curling into her sleeve as if holding herself together, and Ethan feels it again, that same instinct from the stairwell, the quiet pull that tells him walking away is still an option, but staying means stepping into something he does not understand. And yet he does not move toward the door, he does not ask questions, he just lowers his voice, steady and calm. "You want me to say something?" And she looks at him then, really looks this time, like she is measuring him, weighing risk against trust, and there is something fragile in that look, something that has been forced to be strong for too long. And after a second she shakes her head, barely, whispering, "No, they cannot hear your voice." And that answer lands heavier than it should, because it means this is not random. It means whoever is outside is not guessing. They are listening, analyzing, expecting patterns, and the knock comes again, followed by a voice, polite, almost friendly, but too careful to be casual. "Miss Hale, we know you are inside." And the name settles into the room like a truth that can no longer be avoided, and Ethan feels something shift inside him. Not fear exactly, but clarity, because now it is real, now it has a shape, and he glances around the apartment quickly, noticing what he missed before, the space too minimal for someone living comfortably. No personal photos, no clutter, just essentials placed with purpose, a suitcase half tucked under the table, ready, like she never planned to stay long. And when he looks back at her, she has already moved, stepping closer to the window, pulling the curtain just enough to check the street below, her movements quiet but practiced, like this is not the first time she has had to disappear. And when she turns back, her voice is low but firm. "They should not be here yet," she says, more to herself than to him. And that one sentence carries more weight than anything else, because it means there was a plan, a timeline, something carefully controlled that is now slipping. And Ethan exhales slowly, running a hand through his hair as he steps a little closer, lowering his voice even more. Then something changed, and she nods. Once, the smallest motion, but enough. And for a brief second her composure cracks, just enough for him to see the person underneath all of it. Not just someone hiding, but someone who has lost control of something important. And the voice outside speaks again, still calm, still patient. Victoria, we only want to talk. And the way they say her first name makes it clear they know her, not as a stranger, not as a guess, but as someone they have history with. And Ethan looks at the door, then back at her. And in that moment, he understands this is the choice, the real one. Not about groceries, not about being polite, but about whether he steps back into the hallway and leaves her to face whatever is waiting, or stays right here and becomes part of a story he never asked to be in. And when he meets her eyes again, he sees it, not a request, not even hope, just a quiet acceptance that she might have to face this alone. And that is the exact moment he makes his decision, even if he does not say it out loud. The decision settles in before he fully understands it, quiet and steady, the kind that does not need words. And instead of stepping back toward the door, Ethan moves closer to it, placing himself between her and the sound on the other side. Not in a dramatic way, not like a hero, just instinct, just presence. And she notices immediately, her eyes flicking to him with something sharper now. Something like disbelief mixed with warning, because this is not his problem, and she knows it, and he knows it, and yet he stays, and the voice outside shifts slightly. Less patient now, still controlled, but carrying a different edge. Victoria, we are not here to cause a scene. And Ethan exhales slowly, then finally speaks, not loud, not confrontational, just enough to carry through the door. She said she does not want to talk, and the silence that follows is immediate and heavy. Like that one sentence was not expected, like the script just changed in a way they did not plan for. And behind him he feels her step closer, not touching him, but close enough that he can sense the tension in her breathing, the hesitation in her next move. And for a moment the hallway is completely still before the voice answers again, measured, almost curious now. And you are? And Ethan glances at the door like he can see through it, like he can picture the person standing there, composed, calculating, and he shrugs slightly even though they cannot see it. Just someone helping with groceries, he says, simple, ordinary, like he is trying to make this sound smaller than it is. And that is when he hears it, the faint shift of weight outside, a step closer to the door, not aggressive, just deliberate, and the voice lowers slightly, more personal. Then you should know this does not concern you. And that would normally be the moment to step back, to let go, to remind himself that he owes nothing here. But instead, he feels something else settle deeper. Something stubborn, because nothing about this feels right. Not the way they say her name. Not the way they expect access like it belongs to them. And before he can stop himself, he says, feels like it concerns her. And behind him she inhales sharply, like she did not expect that. Like he just crossed a line she has been trying to avoid. And for a second he wonders if he made things worse. But when he glances back, her expression has changed again. Softer in a different way now. Not fear. Not exactly. But something closer to trust. Even if she is not ready to say it out loud. And outside the door the pause stretches longer this time. The kind that signals a recalculation. And when the voice returns, it is quieter, almost careful. Victoria, you cannot stay here forever. And the way they say it makes it sound less like a threat and more like a fact, something inevitable. And she closes her eyes briefly, just for a second, like that sentence landed exactly where it was meant to. And when she opens them again, she looks at Ethan, really looks, like she is about to say something important, something she has not said to anyone in a long time. But before she can, there is a faint sound from the hallway, another set of footsteps approaching, slower, heavier, and this time the silence that follows is not controlled. It is uncertain, like even the people outside the door did not expect that. And suddenly whatever is happening is not just about her anymore. The new footsteps stop just short of the door, and the energy in the hallway shifts instantly. Not louder, not more aggressive, but heavier, like whoever just arrived carries a different kind of authority. And even the first voice lowers slightly when it speaks again. You were not supposed to come here. And that is when Ethan realizes something important. This is not just one group looking for her. This is something layered, something complicated. And behind him Victoria straightens slowly. Her fear still there, but now mixed with something else, something sharper, more controlled. Like she recognizes this new presence in a completely different way. And for the first time since he met her, she steps forward on her own, not hiding behind him, not retreating, just moving closer to the door until she is standing beside him. close enough that he can feel the shift in her breathing, steady now, deliberate. And when she speaks, her voice is quiet but firm. Then you should not be here. Either, and the silence that follows is different this time. Not uncertainty, not calculation, but tension between people who already know each other too well. And Ethan glances at her, trying to piece it together, because whatever this is, it is bigger than a misunderstanding, bigger than someone avoiding a conversation. And the second voice finally responds, calm, but with an edge that carries history. You disappeared without a word. And she does not flinch at that, does not deny it, just exhales slowly like she expected this moment to come eventually. Even if not like this, I had to, she says, and those 3 words land heavier than anything else so far, because they are not defensive, they are not emotional, they are final, like there was no other choice, and Ethan feels it again, that pull to understand, to ask questions, but he stays quiet, letting the space fill with whatever truth is about to surface. And outside, the first voice cuts back in, less patient now. We have been looking for you for weeks. And the way they say it makes it sound like a duty, like a responsibility, not concern. And Victoria's expression tightens just slightly, not in fear, but in frustration, like this is exactly what she was trying to avoid. And Ethan notices her hand curl slightly at her side, not shaking anymore, just controlled, like she is holding something back. And then she says something that changes everything. Her voice steady, clear. If you were really looking for me, you would not have come alone. And that sentence hangs in the air, sharp and precise. And for the first time, the hallway goes completely silent. Not even footsteps, not even shifting weight, just stillness, like she just said something they were not prepared to hear. And Ethan feels his pulse pick up slightly, because now it is clear, this is not just about being found. This is about who is doing the finding, and why. And after a long second, the second voice speaks again, quieter now, almost careful. You think we are the problem. And she does not hesitate, does not soften, just answers, I know you are not the only ones. And that is the moment everything tilts. Because whatever is outside that door is no longer a single threat. It is something divided, something uncertain, and Ethan realizes he is standing in the middle of it, between a woman who ran and people who came to bring her back. But none of them seem to agree on what that really means. The silence after her words does not feel empty. It feels loaded, like every person outside that door is rethinking their next move at the same time. And Ethan can almost picture it, the glance exchanged, the hesitation, the realization that whatever control they thought they had just shifted slightly out of reach. And beside him, Victoria does not move, her posture steady, her gaze fixed on the door, as if she can see through it. As if she already knows what each of them is thinking. And for the first time since all of this started, she does not look like someone running. She looks like someone preparing. And when the second voice finally speaks again, it is different now, less certain, more measured. Then let us make this simple, he says, and Ethan feels the subtle change in tone, the shift from searching to negotiating. You come with us, and we make sure no one else finds you first. And that sentence lands hard. Not because it sounds threatening, but because it confirms everything she implied. There is more than one side to this, more than one group looking for her, and not all of them are offering the same outcome. And Ethan glances at her, waiting, because this is her decision, not his. But she does not answer right away, her jaw tightening slightly, her eyes dropping for just a second like she is weighing something deeper than what is being said out loud. And when she finally speaks, her voice is calm but edged with something unshakable. If I walk out that door, I lose control, she says, not asking, not guessing, just stating a truth she has already accepted. And the first voice responds quickly this time, almost eager to regain ground. You already lost it when you left. And that line cuts through the air sharper than anything before, because it is not just a statement, it is an accusation. And Ethan feels the tension spike again, his attention snapping. Back to the door. But Victoria does not react the way he expects. She does not argue, does not raise her voice. She just lets the silence stretch for a moment before answering. Softer now, but somehow stronger. No. I finally took it back. And that is when Ethan understands something he did not before. This is not just about hiding. This is about reclaiming something that was taken from her, something she refused to lose permanently. And the hallway goes quiet again, longer this time. Like even the people outside need a second to process that shift. And then the second voice speaks once more, quieter now, almost cautious. You think you can fix it from here? And she exhales slowly, the tension in her shoulders easing just a fraction, not because she feels safe, but because she has decided something internally, something final. I think I can finish it, she says, and Ethan feels that sentence settle into the room like a turning point, because whatever this is, it is no longer about escape. It is about confrontation, about something unresolved that she is not willing to run from anymore. And for the first time, he realizes this might not end with her staying hidden. It might end with her walking straight back into whatever she left behind. And that thought should make him step back, should remind him that this is where he exits. But instead he stays exactly where he is. Because now he is not just helping her carry groceries. He is standing at the edge of a decision that is about to change everything. And when he looks at her again, he can see it clearly. Whatever she chooses next, there is no going back. The moment stretches just long enough to feel irreversible, like something unseen has already shifted into motion, and Ethan can sense it without fully understanding it. The way Victoria stands now, not backing away from the door but facing it, shoulders squared, breathing even, like she has crossed some internal line that cannot be uncrossed, and when she finally moves, it is not rushed, not hesitant, just deliberate. One step closer until she is right in front of the door, her hand hovering near the handle but not touching it yet. And Ethan feels the weight of that pause, because this is not about fear anymore. This is about timing, about choosing the exact second everything changes, and behind the door the voices remain quiet, waiting, as if they know she is about to decide. And for a brief second Ethan considers saying something, anything, asking her what this really is, who those people are, why she ran. But the words do not come, because he realizes she would not answer, not now, not when everything is about to unfold. And instead he says something simpler, quieter. You do not have to do this alone. And the sentence hangs between them, soft but steady, and she turns her head just enough to look at him, her expression unreadable for a second before it shifts, just slightly, into something that almost resembles a smile, not because she is relieved, but because she understands what he is offering, not solutions, not protection, just presence. And that seems to matter more than anything else. And then she nods once, a small acknowledgement that carries more weight than words, and reaches for the handle, her fingers closing around it with a calm that feels practiced. And when she opens the door, it is not abrupt, not dramatic, just a quiet movement that reveals the hallway beyond. Two figures standing there exactly where they had been, composed, watchful, their attention immediately locking onto her. And for a second no one speaks, because the moment itself says everything. She is no longer hiding, and they are no longer guessing, and the man closest to the door takes a small step forward, careful, measured, his voice lower now, less controlled than before. Victoria, he says, not as a demand, not even as a question, just her name, and she meets his gaze without hesitation, her voice steady. You should not have come here, and there is something in the way she says it that shifts the balance again, because it is not fear, it is warning. And Ethan watches from just behind her, taking in the details now that the door is open, the clean suits that do not belong in this building, the subtle tension in their posture, the way their eyes move between her and him, assessing, recalculating, and then the second man speaks, his tone quieter, almost cautious. We are running out of time. And that sentence lands differently than anything else so far, because it carries urgency that does not sound manufactured. And Victoria's expression tightens just slightly, her gaze sharpening as if she is searching his face for something specific, something unspoken. And when she answers, her voice drops just a fraction, but it carries a weight that stops everything again. Then you are already too late. And for the first time, Ethan sees uncertainty flicker across their faces, brief but real. And in that instant he understands something new, whatever she has been running from. She is not just a target. She might be the one holding the final move. The flicker of uncertainty on their faces does not last long, but it is enough for Ethan to realize that whatever Victoria just said was not a bluff, it was a move, and she knows exactly what she is doing. And the man in front shifts his weight slightly, his confidence adjusting rather than breaking, his voice lowering as he studies her more carefully now. If that were true, you would not still be here, he says, and it sounds logical, controlled. But Victoria does not react the way he expects. She does not argue, does not defend. She just tilts her head slightly, almost thoughtful, like she is looking at a problem that has already been solved. And then she steps forward, crossing the threshold just enough to stand fully in the doorway, placing herself between them and the apartment. And Ethan feels that shift immediately, because now she is not being protected. She is protecting something or someone, and the hallway seems to narrow around that choice. The air tightening as all attention locks onto her. And when she speaks again, her voice is calm but carries a quiet certainty that was not there before. I stayed because I needed you to come here, she says, and that sentence lands differently, sharper, because it flips everything. And the man's expression changes just slightly, not confusion, but recalculation, like he is trying to understand what he missed. And the second man glances at him briefly before speaking, his tone more cautious now. That does not make sense. And Victoria's lips press together for a second, not in hesitation, but in restraint, like she is choosing how much to reveal. And then she says something that makes Ethan's chest tighten, without fully knowing why. It will, she replies, in about 30 seconds. And silence follows, heavy, charged, the kind that makes time feel slower. And Ethan's mind immediately starts counting without meaning to, his awareness sharpening. Every sound in the building suddenly louder, the faint hum of electricity, the distant echo of a door somewhere below. And then he notices it, subtle at first, a low vibration through the floor, barely there, like something approaching, and the man in front notices it. Too, his posture shifting again, this time not controlled, but alert, his eyes flicking briefly down the hallway, then back to her. And for the first time there is something real in his voice, not authority, not confidence, but concern. What did you do? He asks, and Victoria exhales slowly, not smiling, not gloating, just steady, like she has accepted everything that comes next. I finished what I started, she says, and Ethan feels the weight of that sentence settle into his chest, because now it is clear, whatever she was running from, she was not trying to escape it, she was buying time, and now that time is up, and the sound in the distance grows slightly louder, more defined, footsteps, more than a few, moving with purpose, not rushing, but coordinated, and the two men outside the door exchange a quick glance, something unspoken passing between them, and Ethan realizes in that moment that the balance has shifted again, not toward them, not toward her, but toward something else entirely, something bigger than all of them. And when he looks at Victoria, he sees it clearly now. She is not just part of the story anymore. She set the ending in motion before anyone else even arrived. The vibration beneath Ethan's feet grows stronger, no longer subtle, now unmistakable, and the distant footsteps begin to separate into distinct rhythms. More than one person, moving with purpose, closing in from the far end of the hallway and from the stairwell at the same time. And the realization hits all of them at once. This is not coincidence. This is coordination, and the two men in front of the door shift again. But this time it is not calculated. It is reactive, their control slipping. Just enough to reveal what they did not expect. And Victoria does not move. She does not step back. She does not even glance behind her, because she already knows exactly what is coming. And Ethan feels it, the difference between guessing and knowing. And that difference is what makes everything else fall into place, because she was never trying to escape them. She was leading them here, and the man closest to the door exhales sharply, his voice dropping, no longer polished, no longer distant. You called them, he says, and it is not a question. And Victoria finally allows the smallest shift in her expression, not satisfaction, not relief, just clarity. I gave them the only place you would show up, she answers, and Ethan feels that sentence settle into him like a final piece locking into place, because now it all makes sense, the timing, the waiting, the calm in her voice when she said 30 seconds. And the second man steps forward slightly, not aggressive, but urgent now, his tone lower, more direct. You do not understand what you just did. And for the first time, Victoria's gaze sharpens in a way that feels almost dangerous. Not in action, but in certainty. No, she says quietly. I understand exactly what I did. And the footsteps are close now, no longer distant, echoing clearly from both directions, the building itself feeling smaller, tighter, like everything is closing in on this one point, and Ethan glances down the hallway, catching a glimpse of movement at the far end, figures approaching, composed, purposeful, and then he looks back at her, really looks, because this is the moment he finally sees her for what she is, not just someone hiding, not just someone being chased, but someone who planned every step of this, someone who turned a narrow stairwell and a broken grocery bag into the center of something much bigger, and the first man straightened slightly, his composure returning in fragments as he looks past her, measuring the distance, calculating outcomes, and when he speaks again, his voice is quieter but carries a weight that was not there before. This does not end the way you think. And Victoria's response comes without hesitation, steady, grounded, like she has already accepted whatever comes next. It already did, she says, and the approaching footsteps finally reach the edge of the hallway, stopping just short of the doorway. And for a second, everything freezes, all sides present, all sides aware, and Ethan stands there in the middle of it, realizing that the moment he picked up those groceries, he stepped into something that was never about chance, and now there is no way to step back out. For a single suspended second, no one moves, the hallway holding its breath as the newly arrived group stops just within view. Their presence quiet but undeniable, not chaotic, not rushed, but controlled in a way that feels heavier than anything before, and Ethan notices immediately that they are different, not just in how they stand, but in how they look at Victoria, not searching, not demanding, but recognizing, like they expected this exact moment, and the man at the front of them steps forward slightly, not crossing the invisible line of the doorway, his voice calm but grounded with authority that does not need to be forced. "Victoria," he says, and the way he says her name is not a question, not a demand, but acknowledgement, and for the first time since all of this began, she exhales in a way that is not controlled, not measured, just real, like something inside her finally settles, and Ethan feels that shift immediately, the difference between tension and release, and it tells him more than any explanation could. These are the ones she was waiting for, and the two men who arrived first notice it too, their posture tightening slightly, their attention shifting not just to her, but to the new group behind them. And for a moment the hallway becomes something else entirely, not just a narrow space in a worn building, but a line drawn between two sides that clearly do not trust each other. And the first man straightens again, his voice returning to that polished control. "You should not be here," he says, but this time it lands differently, less certain, because now it is not just directed at her. And the man at the front of the new group does not react. Immediately, his gaze steady on Victoria, as if confirming something silently, before he answers, "Neither should you." And the simplicity of that response carries weight, not confrontation, just fact, and Ethan watches as Victoria finally steps forward fully into the hallway, no longer half inside the apartment, no longer hiding behind a threshold, just standing there between both sides like she belongs exactly in that position. And for a brief moment she glances back at Ethan, just a quick look, but enough. And he understands it without words. This is where it changes. This is where whatever she started is about to finish. And when she turns back, her voice is steady, clear. "It is over," she says, and the words hang there. Simple, but final. And the second man from the first group shakes his head slightly, like he does not accept that, like the situation is not that easy. "You think this ends because they showed up?" he asks, and Victoria does not hesitate, does not even glance at him. "No," she answers, "it ends because everything you needed to hide is no longer hidden." And that sentence shifts the air again, because it is not just a claim, it is a statement of exposure, of something already done, and Ethan feels it click into place. Whatever she planned, it was not just about bringing people here. It was about revealing something they could not control anymore. And the man at the front of the new group finally steps 1 inch closer, his tone calm, but unmistakably firm. "We have what we need," he says, and the silence that follows is no longer uncertain. It is settled, like the outcome has already been decided even if no one has moved yet, and Ethan stands there, still between the open door and the hallway, realizing that the moment he chose to stay, he became part of something that was never random, and now, as every piece falls into place around him, There is only one thing left to see. What comes after the truth is finally brought into the open. The words settle into the hallway like something permanent, not loud, not forceful, but impossible to take back. And Ethan feels it in the way no one argues right away, no one interrupts, because whatever has been revealed is not something that can be undone with another sentence. And Victoria stands there without moving, her shoulders no longer tense, her breathing steady in a way that feels new, like she has finally stepped out of something she has been carrying for too long. And the two men who arrived first exchange a brief glance, not the confident recalculation from before, but something quieter, more restrained, like they are already adjusting to an outcome they cannot fully control anymore. And the man closest to the door exhales slowly, his voice lower now, less polished. "You made a mistake bringing this here," he says, but even as he says it, it sounds less like a warning and more like a realization that came too late. And Victoria does not react immediately. She just watches him, her gaze steady, almost calm, before answering, "No, I stopped letting it follow me." And that difference lands clearly, because it shifts the focus away from the place and onto her, onto the choice she made to stop running. And behind them, the man at the front of the second group steps forward just enough to be fully seen, his presence firm but not aggressive, his attention still on Victoria rather than the others. And when he speaks, it is not directed at her alone. "This is done," he says, and there is something final in the way he says it, not as a threat, not as an order, but as a conclusion, and the hallway seems to accept that before anyone else does, the tension that filled it moments ago beginning to loosen in small, almost unnoticeable ways, and Ethan realizes he has been holding his breath without meaning to, the weight of everything pressing down in a way that only now begins to lift, and Victoria shifts slightly, not stepping back, not retreating, but simply standing differently, like she is no longer bracing for impact. And when she speaks again, her voice is softer, but it carries more truth than anything she has said so far. "It should have been done a long time ago," she says, and the silence that follows is not heavy anymore. It is reflective, like everyone present understands that something important has already passed, and the first man nods once, slowly, not in agreement, but in acknowledgement, like he knows there is nothing left to argue. And for a moment no one moves, no one rushes forward or steps away, because this is not the kind of ending that needs a dramatic shift. It is the kind that settles quietly, piece by piece, until it is undeniable, and Ethan stands just inside the doorway, watching it all, realizing that none of this feels like a confrontation anymore. It feels like a closing, like something that has been building for a long time finally reached the point where it could not continue. And when Victoria finally turns slightly, her gaze flicking toward him again, there is something different there now. Not urgency, not fear, but clarity, like she knows exactly where she stands. And for the first time since he met her, she looks like someone who is not hiding anything at all. The shift is almost imperceptible at first, but Ethan feels it. The way the hallway no longer holds tension, but something quieter, something resolved, like the storm has already passed, and what remains is simply the aftermath. And Victoria stands at the center of it, no longer surrounded, no longer cornered, but present in a way that feels grounded, like she is finally standing in her own space instead of reacting to everyone else's. And the man at the front of the second group nods once, a small, deliberate gesture, before turning slightly to the others behind him, and without a word they begin to step back, not rushed, not forced, just controlled, like their purpose here has already been fulfilled. And the two men who arrived first remain where they are for a moment longer, their composure still intact but quieter now, less certain, as if they are adjusting to a reality that does not favor them anymore. And the one closest to the door looks at Victoria again, his voice softer than before, stripped of the edge it carried earlier. "This is not how it was supposed to go," he says, and for the first time, she does not answer immediately, not because she does not have a response, but because she does not need one. And when she finally speaks, her voice is calm, almost reflective. "It never was," she says, and that answer feels final in a way that does not invite debate. And the man exhales slowly, his gaze dropping for just a second before he nods. Once, not in agreement, but in acceptance. And then he steps back, turning slightly as if to follow the others, and the hallway begins to empty, not abruptly, but gradually, each presence pulling away until the space feels like itself again, narrow, quiet, ordinary, and Ethan watches it happen with a sense of disbelief he cannot quite put into words, because nothing about the last few minutes felt ordinary, and yet now it is fading like it was never meant to stay. And when the last of them disappears down the stairwell, the silence that remains is different from before, not heavy, not tense, but open, like something has been cleared away, and Victoria stands there for a moment longer, not moving, not speaking, just breathing, as if she is allowing herself to feel the absence of what was just there, and then slowly, she turns back toward the apartment, her eyes meeting Ethan's again, and this time there is no guarded distance in her expression, no careful control, just something honest, something real, and for a second neither of them speaks, because there is nothing immediate to say, not after everything that just happened, and yet the quiet between them does not feel empty. It feels full, like the beginning of something that has not been defined yet. And when she finally steps back inside, leaving the door open, it is not an invitation spoken out loud, but it is understood, and Ethan hesitates only briefly before following, because even though everything outside has settled, he knows this is not the end of the story, not for her, and not for him either. The door closes softly behind them, and for a moment the apartment feels smaller than before, not because of the space itself, but because of everything that just unfolded inside and just outside of it. And Ethan stands near the entrance, not quite sure where to move next, his eyes taking in the same room that now feels completely different, the minimal furniture, the quiet corners, the suitcase that no longer looks like an escape plan but something she no longer needs, and Victoria steps further in, slower now, like she is adjusting to a version of stillness she has not allowed herself in a long time, her hand brushing lightly against the edge of the table as if grounding herself, and when she finally exhales, it is deeper than before, not controlled, not measured, just real, and Ethan watches her carefully, because for the first time since he met her, there is no urgency in her movements, no calculation in her eyes, just presence, and after a second she turns toward him, her expression softer, open in a way that feels almost unfamiliar to her. "You could have left," she says quietly, not as a question, but as a statement she has been holding on to, and Ethan shrugs slightly, a small, honest gesture. "I thought about it," he admits, and the corner of her lips lifts just enough to show she understands exactly what that means, and the silence that follows is not uncomfortable. It is steady, like both of them are standing at the edge of something new without needing to rush into it, and she walks toward the window, pulling the curtain aside just a little, looking out at the street below where everything continues as if nothing happened, cars passing, lights flickering, the world moving on, and when she speaks again, her voice carries a different kind of weight now, not pressure, but truth. "I was not hiding because I was afraid," she says, her gaze still outside. "I was waiting until I could end it on my terms," and Ethan leans lightly against the wall, taking that in, letting it settle without interrupting, because now it all makes sense in a way that does not need more explanation, and she turns back to him, meeting his eyes directly. "And you showed up in the middle of that," she adds, almost like she is still trying to process it herself, and he lets out a quiet breath, shaking his head just slightly. "I just carried some groceries," he says, simple, grounded, and that makes her smile a little more this time, something real, something that does not disappear immediately, and she steps closer, not too close, just enough to close the distance between strangers and something else, something undefined but present. "No," she says softly, "you stayed." And that difference lands between them, clear and undeniable, and for a moment neither of them looks away, because now there is nothing left to hide behind, no tension, no urgency, just the quiet aftermath of everything that brought them here, and Ethan glances toward the door for a second, then back at her, as if realizing that whatever just ended outside also created something here, something unexpected, and when she finally looks around the apartment again, it is different now. Not a place to disappear, but a place to start from, and she takes a slow breath before saying, almost to herself but loud enough for him to hear, "I think I am done running." And Ethan nods once, not offering advice, not asking questions, just acknowledging it. And in that moment the story does not feel finished. It feels like it just changed direction, like everything that happened was not the end, but the beginning of something neither of them planned, but both of them are now standing inside of.